AI changes everything. We're talking over these 2 days about the longer term mission for Fujitsu UK, which Amwin Owen has laid out, to revolutionising decision making for individuals and organisations. In practice, that's already happening. We're already seeing that AI bringing together data across a huge state space and then making sense of it at a level we just couldn't possibly keep up with. So during the COVID pandemic, for example, there were multiple attempts. Fujitsu built a use case internally as well to show how you could take all the thousands of scientific papers published every day on the subject of COVID and then distill them down to what were the key insights. And that matters because we produce scientific papers today at a rate that no scientist can keep up with. And that's just focusing on the narrow area of science. If you're working, as I do, at the intersection of multiple different disciplines, so international relations, for example, geopolitics, economics, business, and technology, you can't possibly keep up with it all. So you need machine learning to facilitate your decision making. And I think AI begins to ask fundamental questions about even individual agency and autonomy. And what I mean by that is increasingly those behind technology have so much data that they have unprecedented insight and foresight on what you might do in the future. There was the study that famously cited in the Cambridge Analytica scandal that showed how an organisation with just a few kind of Facebook clicks or likes that you had made were able to better predict your future behaviour using psychometric models than an individual's spouse, their neighbour, close friends. I mean, that kind of power is something we need to be thinking about more and more in order to keep up with the vast volumes of information and harness the opportunities, mitigate the risks.
Fujitsu, I think, has a position, very strong position that we want to use AI ethically. We want our AI to be used ethically. We want all AI to be used ethically and in an equitable manner. AI should create a society that's more equitable. I assume and I hope all our competitors, all our partners have the same feeling, but we definitely have. And we are investing actually massively in AI ethics research as well, algorithms that bring out the biases and say, look, when you make this decision, this is really, you might think it's not a bias, but it is really a bias because of this hidden cause and effect. So I think the long-term success of AI in society is built on the premise that it will be ethical. I mean, short-term, you will have a lot of benefits, but long-term, it has to be ethical for it to be of use.
Often with technological advances, what we do is we race to develop the technology and then we worry about how we protect people from it. We're trying to build the seatbelt before the car. So we're already investing in explainable AI, so you don't get decisions you don't understand. We're doing that in the UK and Japan in parallel and in a complementary way. We're working on adversarial AI, which is the idea that you test your AI against another AI in order to see where the vulnerabilities might be and how your models degrade and make sure that you have the maximum confidence you possibly can in the algorithms that you're developing. We're investing in AI and data ethics, both in the UK, in Germany, and in Israel. We have a global program that begins to say, well, is your data representative? How can we test it? How can we monitor the data that goes in to train the model and then the model kind of in flight to make sure it's performing effectively? And how can we sort of stress test it to see what might break it and then train it so that even when that happens, its performance only degrades a small amount and it rapidly comes back up. And equally that it flags to you that somebody might be messing with it. So building the seatbelt before the car means thinking about all the ways that AI might go wrong and machine learning might go wrong, and building the solutions now as you roll out the technology so that you've got that in place in advance.
Artificial intelligence is a teeter-totter because it has both a huge potential to support society and to break us, okay? And so that's an area where at Fujitsu we've been very careful to work on the infrastructure in our processes and in our thinking and our culture to make sure that we build an ethical framework for AI. We've had this conversation going back 3 or 4 years now, specifically around legislation for artificial intelligence. It needs to be started early and probably built up as a cultural a way of doing business. Legislation as a patch on the technology doesn't work.
The Center for Security and Emerging Technology at Georgetown University in the US is probably the world's leading authority at the intersection of national security and emerging technology. Think about what it really means for people and society. They published a paper a year or so ago now which described how in order to lead in AI you needed 3 things. You needed algorithms, you needed data, and you needed compute. And the UK's long led in the kind of research that delivers the algorithms. Machine learning was developed here and in the US, but here by Alan Turing and others. We've pioneered algorithms. We continue to pioneer algorithms. We have data, and we have things like the Enhanced Partnership Agreement with Japan that allows us to share national strategic data. So we've done a lot in order to be able to harness the first two things. On compute, the UK does much less well. So the fastest supercomputer in the UK is the one run by the Met Office, something like 38th in the world. And the UK knows it needs to do something about it. Patrick Vallance, our chief scientific advisor, published a large-scale compute report last year describing the urgency of beginning to keep up in supercomputing. Well, Fujitsu can help. Until just a week ago, we had the world's largest, fastest supercomputer in Fugaku. We still have the world's fastest quantum simulator. We have a number of technologies that can help provide that last leg of the AI triad. So we have algorithms in the UK, we have data, we don't have compute at the scale and capability that we need, and we're looking to develop that, and I think Fujitsu can play a key role in enabling it.
No company, in my opinion, can deliver everything in AI. It's just so massive. So you have to look at some of the core strengths that you have. Every organization, every technology organization will say they have some AI work going on. You cannot have DX without AI. It's an oxymoron, in my opinion, right? And so from that perspective, it's very important to partner with third-party partners, third-party vendors, your customers, because there's a core strengths that you develop and you said, this is where I am strong at. This is where my organization is absolutely the top, but rest, you really build it with other partners. For example, at Fujitsu, for us, it's like explainable AI, cause and effect AI, human sensing AI. We want to be the top of that. But rest, we'll partner with others, because at the end of the day, the customer wants a solution. They do not want a widget that they have to bring together and create a solution. AI is already doing a massive contribution to society, but I would say if you look in the AI journey, it's still starting, right? But it's already beginning to be used in, for example, trusted society or healthy living kind of issues. We are using AI massively in Kawasaki City. We are doing tsunami prediction, typhoons, genome prediction. Of course, in UK, for example, space debris removal, or in Hamburg City, the Port Authority of Hamburg, that's using digital annealer with our AI technology. So I think the reason why AI has become that is because it is actually impacting everybody's life in a positive way. Supercomputers, when combined with AI, can deliver benefits that you can't just deliver using normal AI or just normal compute, right? I'll give you an example. Or earthquake predictions. You can do that running these algorithms on supercomputers, right? There was a geologist in the United States that predicted when a volcano about to erupt. The algorithms were actually written on normal computer, but once you ported that on supercomputers, you could actually predict that it's amazing. It's amazing, right? And think about it, if you can get everybody ready, how many lives you can save, how much property you can save. It's amazing. So I think that's where supercomputing and AI, the combination is a killer in terms of the benefits it can drive for the society.